Hello friends. I did promise that I would include some videos here. I admit that I'm loving the audio. There's something that just concentrates the attention internally, which is part of the process in this group experiences that each of us turns internal. And while it's a relational, it's not hinged on, I can't see you, but it's not hinged on you seeing me. But here and there, I do want to intersperse some video. So today's topic with presence, I want to go a bit deeper in an angle on the reality of pain resulting in suffering taking place in creation. And this by no means is anecdotal or solution-oriented. It's simply an exploration, because we continue the cycles of suffering. We are largely the ones instigating it and starting it, and largely the ones that are being hurt. So we are the predators and the preys, the predators and the preys. And even now, there is so much going on that you would think we've grown and we're repeating the same patterns of fear. I was reflecting back on this topic because I had some very painful existential moments when I was younger. I would have a pressing question that would arise, and I really couldn't rest until I got the answer. And for me, it was a source of great suffering. I look back now and I think it was a beautiful aspect of the love of my being, because it pushed me. It pushed me uncomfortably, kind of like Jacob wrestling with the angel in the desert. It pushed me to search for an answer and to give up when I couldn't find it so that I could actually receive the answer. So I think this is a blessing of my fiery personality. Anyway, and I've shared this story or this learning at other times, so it may not be new to you. When I was in college, I think I might have been 20 at the time. Yeah, I think I was 20. And my mystical experiences were over the top. I mean, it was constant, profound, boundless experiences, which allowed a safe space for a lot of these concerns to come up. And one of my biggest concerns in this moment that I'm talking about was my worry that we as human beings could do evil for evil's sake. So first, I'm assuming there's evil. And second, that we could do evil for evil's sake. Now, this was really propelled because I carried guilt around something that actually was just an early childhood trauma that I blamed myself for as a 4-year-old, and was definitely not my fault. But something in me internalized that as that I did a very, very bad thing because I didn't act in the moment. I froze. So even though logically and through therapy I could face that, I still had threads of but that came up in relation to this shame, deep shame and guilt that I carried. And that propelled this because I felt like what I did was truly bad in the way that I froze. I didn't do anything that was an action that was bad. I wasn't mean or anything like that. It was just I was in the face of something that completely overwhelmed me as a 4-year-old, and I froze. I went into shock. So it truly was innocent. It was, which in a way doesn't matter, but it matters in that the guilt and shame I was carrying, it was so obvious an aberration of understanding of reality and myself. But with it, it left this constant doubt. What if I froze and I did bad, and it was really for bad sake? It was a terrifying thought. And I was in an ethics course in a Catholic school of theology, and the ethics course was excellent, very, very good. And while I don't want to get into the whole course, one of the topics ended up being this very question. Can you believe it? Talk about divine providence. And so this question was taken up, and through the methodology, the professor, without agenda, it led us to the conclusion that it is not possible for a human being to do evil for evil's sake. And how does that hit you? Because when you witness in our world individuals who seem to be doing really bad things, it could be anywhere. You could even look back in history. Isn't it easy to want to think that it's the embodiment of evil? But is that even possible? Because embodiment itself can only take place as consciousness, and consciousness of its nature is all benevolent. I believe it's not possible for anything to embody evil. Now, a human being could become so disassociated from themselves that they're acting out the shadow side, but even the shadow side is for a perceived good, right? So even when you look at Hitler, who is renowned for the atrocities, and even the other individuals involved, there was a perceived good there, right? Nationalism, and creating a race that was superior, and that was seen as a perceived good on the level of a power and survival. So even though it wasn't the ultimate good, it was a perceived good. So I hope that shines a light. But where do you go with that then? Where does that leave you internally when it comes to your presence and holding presence in the world? Here I want to draw upon 3 quotes. And I know I need to make this reflection short, so I'm only going to kind of throw the quotes at you and you can reflect. And they're all from Teilhard de Chardin, because I love his theory of cosmogenesis. So in The Phenomena of Man, he says, the universe is not a static structure, but a process. It is a cosmogenesis. He continues in that same work, everything that rises must converge. Nothing ultimately goes a separated way. It always converges. And this convergence is an omega point. He says in The Phenomena of Man, omega is the point at which the evolving universe will culminate in a supreme consciousness. This consciousness is personal. For him, it was Christ-centered or Christic. It was a fulfillment of consciousness becoming fully aware of itself in God and as God. And he also writes, and I love this way of putting it, in the omega point, the universe reaches its consummation. Now, in another work of his, The Future of Man, he brings forward what to him is the agency by which this happens, that then points to another aspect of presence. He says, love alone is capable of uniting living beings in such a way as to complete and fulfill them. So the force driving the consummation in cosmogenesis is what? It is love. That love is both the binding energy and is the propelling force. This is so powerful. And this is not some abstraction. He came to this by being a biopaleontologist involved in the unearthing of skulls that have show human descent, and his deep mystical experiences and theological reflection. But what are the implications? Where do you take that? And is there anywhere in you that you want to separate that out? Well, it applies to everything except this. Or is there a justice piece in you that feels like you need to say, that's evil? Or could it be possible that you could hold that the consciousness is somehow working out its good, and that we're co-creators in it, and that on an essence level, none of us is evil, even though we may be deluded and acting out shadow sides. And that ultimately, he says it's not possible for it not to happen, that the omega point won't happen. It's not possible. Consciousness, fully aware of itself, will come to its fulfillment. Period. Where does that leave you? And how can you bring that into your presence in the moment? You can hold it all, my friend. You can hold it all. You can hold it all, and that's part of your calling. So our practice today is going to use the mantra Loka. And given that there's a few of you that attended the retreat in Spain with me, I thought it would be nice to once again use the Loka that we did so powerfully on one of our excursions when we stood in a historical building. We stood there on the mid-level by ourselves, echoing the Loka, rippling it through the ages. So let's do that again, my friends, that we may be the realization of the Loka, that may all beings be free and happy, free of suffering and happy. May all beings know peace, myself and all. Be courageous with me. Let's be audacious. We can do this. So I invite you to close your eyes. And I'm simply going to start chanting, and you join in when you're able. Inviting in a breath. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. 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 One last time. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Letting spreading the will of peace and freedom of suffering for all creation that exists and that also moves through us, letting it ripple through past, present, and future. And when you're ready, bring the palms together in front of the heart and open the eyes with Namaste. Namaste.